In our hyperconnected world, we've created a dangerous illusion that motion equals progress, that being busy equals being meaningful. We fill calendars, check phones incessantly, and pride ourselves on juggling multiple tasks. But beneath this frenetic activity lies a troubling question. Are we moving towards something worthwhile, or simply running in circles, mistaking exhaustion for achievement? The ancient Stoics understood what we've forgotten in our age of endless distractions. Imagine a hamster running furiously on a wheel. The animal expends tremendous energy, its legs moving at incredible speed, sweat beading on its tiny brow. To an outside observer, this looks like intense, purposeful activity. The hamster appears busy, dedicated, even admirable in its relentless effort. But here's the cruel truth. Despite all that motion, the hamster goes absolutely nowhere. The wheel spins, energy is burned, time passes, but no actual progress occurs. This is a perfect metaphor for modern life. We become hamsters on wheels of our own making, mistaking the spinning for forward movement, the exhaustion for accomplishment, the constant motion for meaningful progress towards something that actually matters. The Stoics distinguish between mere activity and purposeful action through their concept of prohairesis, our faculty of moral choice. This isn't about what we do, but how we choose what to do. Marcus Aurelius, while managing an empire, wrote, "Confine yourself to the present, not because he had nothing to do, but because scattered attention leads to scattered results." True purpose emerges when our actions align with virtue and reason, not when we simply stay busy to avoid confronting deeper questions about meaning. Consider your last week. How many hours did you spend in meetings that accomplished nothing? How often did you check your phone, not because you expected something important, but simply from habit? How many tasks did you complete that you couldn't explain why they mattered? This isn't a judgment. It's recognition of a pattern we all fall into. We've been conditioned to believe that productivity equals worth, that being needed equals being valuable. But the Stoics would ask a different question. Are these activities developing your character? Are they aligned with your deepest values? Are you becoming the person you want to be? Or are you just becoming busier? The uncomfortable truth is that much of our busyness serves as an elaborate distraction from the harder work of examining our lives and choosing our direction consciously. Stoicism emerged in ancient Athens around 300 BCE, founded by Zeno of Citium after a shipwreck left him stranded and penniless. Interestingly, this philosophy of purposeful living was born from a moment of complete disruption when all the external markers of success were stripped away. The early Stoics lived in a world not unlike ours. The Hellenistic period was marked by political upheaval, cultural change, and individuals struggling to find meaning amid chaos. The Stoic school, originally located in the Stoa Poikile, painted porch, became a refuge for those seeking wisdom about how to live well regardless of external circumstances. What made Stoicism unique wasn't its rejection of worldly engagement. Quite the opposite. The greatest Stoic practitioners were deeply involved in public life. Marcus Aurelius ruled the Roman Empire. Seneca advised emperors and wrote extensively. Epictetus taught students who would go on to influence generations. But their engagement was guided by clear principles rather than reactive busyness. They understood that true effectiveness comes not from doing more things, but from doing the right things for the right reasons. This ancient wisdom becomes especially relevant in our age of infinite distractions and competing demands for our attention. The Stoics built their philosophy on 4 cardinal virtues: wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance. These weren't abstract ideals, but practical guidelines for daily decisions. Wisdom meant understanding what truly matters. Justice involved treating others fairly and contributing to the common good. Courage wasn't just physical bravery, but the strength to act according to principles, even when difficult. Temperance meant moderation and self-control. Every action could be evaluated against these virtues, transforming random busyness into purposeful living guided by timeless principles. These virtues work together to create what the Stoics called eudaimonia, human flourishing. Unlike our modern obsession with happiness as a feeling, eudaimonia is about living excellently according to our nature as rational, social beings. When we apply these virtues to our daily choices, something remarkable happens. Our business transforms into meaningful action. Instead of saying yes to every request because we want to be liked, we apply justice, considering what truly serves a greater good. Instead of avoiding difficult conversations, we summon courage. Instead of consuming endless information, we practice temperance. Instead of reacting emotionally to setbacks, we engage wisdom. This isn't about perfection. The Stoics were remarkably practical about human limitations. It's about having a framework for decision-making that goes deeper than what feels urgent right now or what will make me look busy and important. Throughout history, we see clear examples of the difference between meaningful business and empty activity. Consider Winston Churchill during World War II, incredibly busy, managing a nation at war. Yet his actions were guided by clear principles about defending freedom and democracy. Every speech, every strategic decision, every moment of his day served a larger purpose. Contrast this with the frantic activity we often see in modern corporate environments. Endless meetings about meetings, emails that generate more emails, projects that exist mainly to justify other projects. In our time, we might look at someone like Warren Buffett, who famously keeps a relatively empty calendar and says no to most opportunities. His productivity comes not from doing more things, but from doing the right things exceptionally well. Or consider the approach of Cal Newport, who advocates for deep work, sustained, focused effort on meaningful tasks rather than shallow busyness. The Stoic Emperor Marcus Aurelius provides perhaps the best historical example. Despite ruling the largest empire in history, facing plagues, wars, and political upheaval, his personal writings reveal someone deeply committed to philosophical reflection and purposeful action. He didn't just react to crises. He approached each challenge as an opportunity to practice virtue. His meditations show us someone who transformed the ultimate busy job into a practice of wisdom and character development. We must fundamentally reconsider how we measure a life well lived. Our culture equates worth with productivity metrics. Emails sent, hours worked, meetings attended, social media engagement. But the Stoics measured progress differently, by character development, by alignment with virtue, by contribution to human flourishing. They asked, am I becoming more patient, more courageous, rather than how many tasks did I complete? This shift in perspective transforms everything. Suddenly, a quiet conversation with a struggling friend becomes more valuable than checking 50 emails. Marcus Aurelius regularly practiced what we might call cosmic perspective, imagining himself from the viewpoint of eternity. He would consider how his current concerns would appear in 10 years, 100 years, 1,000 years. This wasn't meant to diminish the importance of present action, but to clarify what truly deserves our energy. From this expanded perspective, much of our frantic busyness reveals itself as trivial. The urgent email that feels so pressing today will be forgotten next week. The meeting that seemed crucial will have no impact on anyone's life a month from now. But the character we develop through our responses to these situations, that lasts. The relationships we nurture, the wisdom we cultivate, the virtue we practice, these have enduring significance. Before we continue exploring how to escape the busyness trap, let's acknowledge something important. This isn't easy work. Changing deeply ingrained patterns of reactive living requires sustained effort and philosophical practice. The Stoics themselves struggle with these same challenges. Marcus Aurelius's meditations reveal someone constantly reminding himself to stay focused on what matters. If you're finding value in this exploration of purposeful living, consider subscribing to Shadows of Stoicism for more philosophical wisdom applied to modern challenges. We often romanticize the past, imagining that people in earlier eras had clearer purposes and simpler lives. But the truth is more complex. Even ancient Romans struggled with distraction and meaningless activity. Seneca complained about people who rush about in aimless activity and waste their lives on trivial pursuits. The difference wasn't that they had fewer distractions. They had their own versions of our modern busyness trap. What distinguished the wise from the merely busy was philosophical training and regular self-examination. The Stoics developed specific practices: morning reflection to set intentions, evening review to assess alignment with values, regular meditation on death to clarify priorities. They recognize that without conscious effort, human beings naturally drift toward reactive living. The challenge of living purposefully isn't new, but neither are the solutions. The wisdom they develop remains as relevant today as it was 2,000 years ago. One reason we cling to busyness is that it creates an illusion of control in an uncertain world. When we don't know what the future holds, staying constantly active feels like we're at least doing something. But the Stoics understood that this approach actually increases our anxiety rather than reducing it. They taught that uncertainty is not a problem to be solved, but a fundamental condition to be accepted. Epictetus reminded his students that we cannot control external events, only our responses to them. This doesn't mean becoming passive. Quite the opposite. When we accept uncertainty, we can focus our energy on what we actually can influence: our character, our choices, our relationships, our growth. The person frantically trying to control every outcome through endless activity is actually less effective than someone who acts purposefully while accepting that results are ultimately beyond their control. This paradox is central to Stoic wisdom. By letting go of the need to control everything, we become more genuinely influential in the areas that matter most. The Stoics weren't just philosophers. They were practical people who developed concrete tools for living purposefully. First, practice the discipline of desire by asking before any commitment: does this align with my core values? If you can't articulate why something matters beyond making you feel busy or important, consider declining. Second, implement evening reflection. Spend 5 minutes each night reviewing your day. What action served your deeper purposes? What was merely reactive busyness? What would you do differently? Third, establish clear priorities based on virtue rather than urgency. Marcus Aurelius kept a list of principles that guided his decisions as emperor. Create your own version, a personal constitution that helps you distinguish between what's important and what's merely loud. Fourth, practice saying no gracefully. Every yes to one thing is a no to something else. If you don't consciously choose what deserves your attention, others will choose for you. Fifth, build in periods of solitude for reflection. In our hyper-connected world, this is revolutionary. Without regular quiet time to examine our lives, we remain trapped in reactive patterns. Finally, measure progress internally. Are you becoming more patient, more courageous? These metrics matter more than any external achievement. Imagine a master archer preparing to shoot. She doesn't frantically fire arrows in every direction, hoping one might hit something valuable. Instead, she takes time to identify her target, considers wind conditions, checks her stance, draws the bow deliberately, aims carefully, and releases with intention. Her power comes not from the number of arrows she shoots, but from the precision and purpose behind each shot. This is how the Stoics approach life, not with frantic activity, but with deliberate action guided by clear principles. Every choice becomes an arrow aimed at virtue, every moment an opportunity for purposeful engagement. The path from meaningless busyness to purposeful living isn't about doing less. It's about choosing better. It's about transforming from reactive scrambling to intentional action guided by virtue and wisdom. In a world that profits from our distraction, choosing to live purposefully is itself a radical act. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking. The meaning we seek isn't hidden in our next task or achievement. It's available right now in how we choose to respond to this moment. Seneca wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. Stop wasting yours on empty motion. Choose purpose over productivity, virtue over validation, wisdom over busyness. Stay strong, stay stoic. The world needs people who act from principle rather than pressure, who choose depth over distraction. If this exploration of purposeful living resonates with you, you're not alone in questioning whether our culture's obsession with busyness truly serves human flourishing. Join our community of modern Stoics who are committed to living intentionally rather than reactively. Subscribe to Shadows of Stoicism for more philosophical wisdom applied to contemporary challenges. Share your own experiences with breaking free from the busyness trap in the comments below. Together, we can support each other in choosing meaning over motion, purpose over productivity. Remember, philosophy isn't just about understanding life. It's about living it well.